Hey, spiritual Barbies and Kens. Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Sisters podcast. This is Gabrielle Celeste. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, guys. It's me, a very tired me. Hello.
And hi, Chelsea.
Oh, if this is your first time, wait, hold on. If this is your first time, welcome. If this is not your first time listening to our show, welcome back. I feel like we need to welcome new listeners just in case. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to welcome our lovely return guest, the one and only Chelsea Jenkins. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. This is my third time recording with you guys.
But it's been a year. True.
Yeah.
I know.
So
I was thinking about that because you had come on the show and then you gave me the wonderful birthday reading, and now we're a year out after that, actually. And it's so interesting to see those predictions quite literally come forth. And I will say, guys, Chelsea is one of the most gifted psychics that I know. And she has a talent for predictions. I would say that is maybe, would you say, your specialty? But
yeah,
you have called really big moments that happened or are about to happen. And I just wanted to say, like, that, yeah, it's just, it's really cool to see that.
I love to hear it. Nicole, last time you asked me at the end of it, you were like, so where do you see your business? Like, where do you see things going? And I just remember sitting there being like, I don't know. It's going to like speak to me. And like, whatever's going to happen. And a year later, here we are kind of like cycling through, and so much has changed. But it really, we're going to speak to human design today because that really found its way into my life in a bigger way. It's always been in my orbit. It's been in my orbit for years, but it dropped in. And it dropped in very, very strong. And so much just kind of has clicked into place since then. But part of my process is very much in that trusting the process. It's trusting the journey, especially being a projector and then also with an emotional wave. And to speak to the prediction things, knowing my chart now, it makes more sense. So it's really kind of cool to put some of this woo-woo into more of like a tactical, visual, tangible like modality, I guess you could say, which is what I found in human design, which is what I was feeling I was lacking in a lot of what I was doing. You know, like Gabby, you have astrology, and Nicole, you're in psychology. These are two things you can really lean on, and they're there, and there's studies, and there's something to be shown for it. And human design is the science of differentiation, and that's become my thing that I get to lean on now. And so just being a year later, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then on a personal note, I'm just really excited for you for July because there's some stuff I'm still vibing for you. So we'll see how that pans out.
Okay, so we definitely have to speak to all of that, and it's totally going to come up as we, proceed in this recording. But that was such a good segue into the questions that we asked each of our guests.
Hold on.
Okay.
I want to point out that the last time you were here, we talked about a couple things that we wanted to call in our lives, and we called in that you would be engaged, and
My nails are done. I never do my nails, and I need to start doing that.
He must have listened to our episode,
right?
And then we called in that we would do a collaboration with the Common Mystics, and we did that a couple months ago, and they were so fun. So that was really cool because we did call those two things in. Oh my gosh! So we need to call in some things. So let's think about it.
I haven't even thought about that. But you're right, we do.
Can we do that at the end? Because that was fun.
At the end, like I want to see this.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we called it in at the end last time. So, okay, go ahead with the questions, Gabs.
Okay, to our listeners out there, please go back and listen to those awesome episodes with Chelsea. You'll love them. So, okay, Chelsea, what is your cosmic blueprint in astrology? So, what is your big three? Sun, moon, rising.
I am a Taurus sun, a Leo rising, and a Capricorn moon.
Oh, okay. Capricorn moons. We know that energy very well. Do you enjoy it?
It's so hard to work with, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Like, for a long time, I wondered if it's because both my oldest sister and my mom are Capricorns. And I was like, am I just like conditioned to have this certain work ethic and this certain, I don't want to say like rigidity, but like kind of rigidity about certain things. Yeah. And then I realized, no, it's my moon. And when I found out that I had a Capricorn moon, I found this out. I vividly remember the moment that I discovered this, and I had like such an aversion to it. But over the years, I've come to realize that it's working to my benefit. And again, it's just like part of my chart. So with human design, astrology is part of it. You combine the two, things just made more sense. So yeah.
Yeah. Side note, we'll speak to this offline, but our dad's a Capricorn moon, so it's like, oh yeah, I get I get it. So okay, so human design. I feel like we should have started with that one because this episode's on human design, baby. So what's your makeup in human design?
Yeah, I'm a 6'2" projector, emotional authority. And yeah, with being a projector speaking to the Capricorn moon, your strategy as a projector is your strategy is wait for the invitation, and if you're in alignment based off if you find success in things. And so that Capricorn moon just really nails that in for me, which it can be a beautiful blessing, or it can feel like a lot of responsibility and overwhelm and pressure to perform.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a sense of like just having a lot of expectation for yourself because Capricorn moon is all about just like getting done, but it's applying to the emotional sense. So that makes it kind of hard to maybe, I guess it would be like almost like judgment for your own feelings, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we get further into, there's tribal, collective, and knowing. Wait, there's one more. There's a subset. This is something that's a little bit more deep, but I know that for me, I'm a collective emotional wave, and the collective emotional wave has a channel that specifically is about you have expectations about things and you don't mean to. It's just that you're kind of a big dreamer. So you have these like grandiose dreams about something, and that kind of sets an expectation. So it's really, really, really about honing in and getting back into enjoying the journey without the expectation, without the destination. So that's another part of my chart that can be a little bit that can add to that.
For sure. I have so many thoughts from like the astrological perspective as you were speaking to that. But what are some of the podcasts that you're listening to right now?
Well, obviously the Spiritual Sisters. That's like what everyone says, but it's true. Like you guys are 100% on my top rotation. I have been listening to the Awaken podcast. They just released it recently. It's Hello Weston and Lucas Mac, I think. I don't remember their names, but they're breathwork workers, and they are phenomenal. And I highly recommend that podcast to so many people, because if you speak this language, they are speaking to your soul and this and that vibration. And then for funsies, I love the Barely Filtered podcast. Aurora Colpo is the host. She had a co-host that left, and I just love hearing about like she talks about like health stuff. She talks about being an influencer and what that life looks like, and it's just kind of fun to tap in and see kind of what's going on and the trends that are happening and all the girl stuff, you know.
Yeah, I have to check that one out. Nicole, got to add those to our list.
My guilty pleasure one has been Girls Next Level, because it takes me back to my 20s.
See,
it's so fun.
We all need a guilty pleasure podcast for sure. I'm like focusing on the personal development and spiritual development. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to like listen to the reality show as a podcast. You know?
Yep, definitely.
Okay, so if you had the chance to read for anyone on a human design level or a psychic level, whichever, who would that be? Why? And they could be dead or alive.
I went back and forth with this. I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks, knowing that this is a question you guys would ask. And it's probably like an eye roll moment, but honestly, I could read Siddhartha before he became Buddha. Like, I think that would be so cool. It would just be really, really cool.
Great answer.
Because I wonder, like, with the human design element, I'm like, oh my gosh, did you do deconditioning in your undefined centers? And for anybody that's listening that's not familiar with that term, the undefined centers are the spaces that are not colored in on your chart. And a lot of our human process is learning to decondition that, which means take away any conditioning that we've had from our environmental, experience, and just really get aligned with what that is. So I'm like, is that what that means? Like, this is like a very big question, like existential question. I'm just like, but is that how Siddhartha got there? Like, it'd be so cool to just sit and look and see, what's there.
I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I don't think I ever expect answers to these this next question and the one I just asked, but I'm like, damn, like they're just such great answers every single time. Okay, and then final question for the hot fire rounds that we ask. If you could go to any concert for an artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
This was another one I
You
thought of.
can't say Jason.
No. Honestly, I get a concert every day in our house, and as much as I love him, those songs do not leave this headspace. I'm like, I love your music. I truly love your music so much. I need a break. But Daft Punk, because it's ironic that they always talk about how Daft Punk, Daft Punk for Coachella, or Daft Punk is going to be like at the Trash Fence at Burning Man, and like it's just like in this festival circuit, and it's become this enigma, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to actually go see Daft Punk.
They're fun. Well, not them specifically, but their song closed out our wedding.
Really?
Oh,
I love that.
That was we got to pick what we wanted for like the final song, and we picked it was one of their songs for our final wrapping up.
You had a good DJ, that's for sure.
He was really good, yeah.
I have some good videos from that time with the Tias, aka our gay uncles.
Oh, they were having the time of their lives. It was
best time, and like phenomenal. It was just
they were
so
dancing
good.
queens all night.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they played that song.
Sorry, when did you get married? Remind me how long you guys been together?
We got married in 2022.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I heard the song Dancing Queens playing, and then I saw them get all excited, and then I was like, and then someone else got really excited, and it was the song that she did her father-daughter dance with at her wedding. So I was like, did he play that because she asked him, or did he play that to be like funny because he saw all the gays that we had there? But anyway, we had a lot of people very excited at the Dancing Queens song.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Fun.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, go ahead, Gabs. I was going to sit back today.
Okay, cool. So, Chelsea, human design. There's a lot going on, and for me, it is. I would say it's kind of masculine if you're really thinking about the systems and like just its application, or if you compare it to, astrology, which astrology is incorporated into the system alongside the I Ching. I just feel like there's such a complexity to it, but I think what you bring to the table with the whole topic and system of human design is that you can really take something that sounds so complex and dense, especially if you're looking at the original book that, oh my god, I'm gonna mess it up. Bra Uhuru, who? Bra? Okay,
yeah,
so the founder. Yeah, the founder of human design. And when I think about that book, I'm just like, there's a lot there, and a lot of people have taken what he said and have written it to kind of their interpretation to make it a little bit more digestible. But I think what you really do is, because you're adding the whole psychic component to it as well, is that you can take the complexity of the system and the information and digest it and really make it make sense for someone. And I think that's where the beauty of human design lies. It's like the how to really live your most aligned life. And I would just love for us to get into just even like what the profile lines mean, strategy, authority, and really what, feel called to speak to in that area for human design is almost like a part 2 to the original one we did with Jazz.
Yeah. So shout out to Jazz, because she did a really good job of giving you the overview of kind of what this modality is, because it really is a complex system for sure. But my take on it is it's allowed to be easy for sure. I want that. I want it to be digestible enough for people to have an access point to it, because I think that the beauty of human design is it's so empowering. Where are my words today? Okay, it's so empowering. It's so liberating when you have somebody explain your type. All you need is like your type, your profile line, your strategy and authority explain. And that right there is a huge permission slip to step into your authentic self. And so there are so many pieces. And I know, Nicole, you spoke to this when you said that Jazz gave you a reading. It's like there's things that you've never told a soul before, or you just have this inner knowing, and all of a sudden it comes to life on the page, and you're like, whoa, how can this be possible? How is there genuinely a blueprint for my soul and for my human experience? And what I love about human design is it's an invitation to drop into the human experience. It's your human design. And I'm just going to go on like a quick side tangent really quickly about why I love this work so much, but I just feel like in the spiritual space that right now there's a lot of bypassing, and right now there is a lot of kind of a slap in the face of being a human. We're so focused
Yeah.
on being in the 5D and this ascension and transcending into, you know, elevating and all the things. And I'm like, you guys, but we're here. We're humans. So what does it mean to be in the embodiment of a human and to stop pushing our emotions away and calling them, Nicole, I sent you a voice note about this not that long ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just talked about this. Or we didn't talk, but we voice noted back and forth about this.
Yeah.
I was like,
Like,
oh, preach, girl, preach.
right? I'm just like, we're in this space because I was listening to other episodes. You guys have talked about this. I'm like, that resonates. And I completely agree that why are we ignoring that we're human? Why are we ignoring the fact that we have emotions? That this is the blessing. Like, okay, if anybody wants to complain, just remember that your soul crossed your T's, dotted your I's, signed a freaking contract, and came down to earth and chose to be here. So it's like, let's not push away our human experience. Let's not push away embodying what it means to truly feel our experiences. And I get that, trust me, I've gone through 2.5 years of some big T and little t trauma from my, you know, my relationship and my own personal experiences and whatnot. It's hard. It's not easy, but it's what I signed up for. So with human design, I think it's so beautiful because we have this vehicle to truly get back into ourselves and have a path of least resistance because we all are uniquely here. So that's like my big tangent right now. That's my whole shtick is like, just stop trying to like be somewhere else. Because also, by the way, in order for us to transcend into the next dimension, we have to understand the body first. We have to work with the body. We have to be in the collective body. We have to be in this consciousness of the physical so that we can leave behind the physical to move into. But it takes the physical being in co-collaboration with each other and working with a collective energy to be able to transcend. So that's my shtick. Human design will help you figure out how for you individually how to do that. So that's why I just get lit up by this work because I agree. If you read the book of the definitive book of human design, it's a freaking Bible. Like there's so much text to it. There's so much density, but again, it doesn't have to be that complicated. So if you really just want to simplify it and get started in it and stop feeling like it's this overwhelming process, this is how you do it. You look at your profile, and your profile are 2 numbers. The first number is going to represent your conscious behavior and your conscious understanding of who you are. And the second number is going to represent your unconscious design. And that's kind of where like a lot of the magic and the fun happens because these are a lot of the pieces of you that are, you know, about yourself, and they've kind of been in the background, but you've never actually brought forward. Maybe they haven't come to light yet. You haven't felt comfortable bringing them to light, whatever it may be. So there in human design, there's this theory and this idea that your unconscious design comes into, like, it's when your soul drops into your body, which is 88 degrees before your birthday, which is about 88 days before your birthday. And that is a whole that's a whole body graph, which is, if you look, I'll show you. If you guys have audio or if you guys have visual, this is what the body graph looks like. If you guys are just listening in, if you look at human design, you're going to see something with 9 different centers, and it kind of looks like the Hindu chakra system, but there's 9 centers instead of 7. And that is what we call the body graph in human design. So when you look at the body graph, 88 days before you're born, the belief is like your soul comes into the body, and that's your unconscious design. And then 88 days later, when you're actually born, it's very similar to astrology in the sense of your time, your place, and your location. Your time, location, and day.
Place of birth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, place of birth. All 3 of those are going to play into what your conscious design is. So those 2 come together to create your body graph, and it can be super overwhelming. Like, I remember looking at it, and when I was introduced to human design, I was like, that's cool. I like this. But it took me about 3 years to even think about going deeper because it just looked so intimidating. The body graph looks so intimidating. But really, so going back to like the profile lines, the unconscious number comes in 88 days before you're born. The conscious number comes in the day that you're born. And together, they create your profile line. Your profile line is essentially like the costume that you're wearing on this earth. And that's not a facade. That's not like you are pretending to be something inauthentic. It's actually one of the most authentic pieces of you. It's how you navigate life. So your profile line, I'm like, where should we start? Should we start with energy
I have a
type
quick question
profile?
again.
Yeah.
So you said the line 1 was what? The
Line
first
1
line,
is, yeah, so there's 6
you're
lines to the
conscious?
profile line. Oh, you're talking, okay. So for instance, when I say I'm a 6'2",
Uh-huh.
I'm saying my conscious design is a 6, my unconscious is a 2, because that's the second number. So Gabby, you're a 4'6", right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just gonna
Nicole,
say Chelsea is a
We're the
4'6",
same.
and yeah, we're this. So I wanted to say something really quick about that. That was more of a
Because
comment.
I'm reading it and I'm like, because it says like a 4 is a people person, but I don't really like to people very much. So,
but 4 is not just about being like, when you think people person, you're probably thinking like, I'm the extrovert that wants to go to the party and talk to everybody and whatever. You're innately good at networking. You're a psychologist. Like, you're working with people, you understand people. So there's just an innate ability to understand people and also know how to make connections. So it's like, you also, from what I know, are the person that is reaching out to, like, talking to other podcasts and keeping those conversations alive and like maintaining that comes innately to you, and that's something that you enjoy. Like, if you enjoy those people, you're going to continue those conversations, and that's part of your. So the beautiful thing about all of our profile lines is they're natural to us, and sometimes we see them and sometimes we don't, because they're just a part of who we are. They're so ingrained in it. So with the 4, it's like you're good at networking, you're good at making contracts, you're good at collaborations, and you're good at just truly understanding people at a fundamental level.
I wanted to say, so I don't know if you know this about the three of us. So our younger sister who does all the edits and the social media and YouTube for the podcast. So we're all 4'6". We're all sacral, except Nicole and Brianna are Manny Gens, and I'm a generator. And generators and Manny Gens in human design for business. So Manny Gens can do a lot of things at once, which is like the beauty of it, but they forget steps. And the generator comes in to be like, oh no, this is like the systematic process, and this is what you forgot. So it's so fascinating when you look at like and this can be proven with astrology as well, which is again a component of human design. Um, if you look at our parents and if you look at all of the familial charts and just like all of us together, I'm like, we fucking signed up to do this shit for sure. And this is not the first fucking lifetime that we've done this together. So it's wild what you can see when you look into it that deeply.
I think it's wild because in my family, I have 2 older sisters, and they're also 6'2" profile lines. So all 3 of us are 6'2s. And then my youngest niece, who's the baby, like me, I'm the baby of the family, she's a 6'2". And she's like a little mini me, and she's like super fiery, and she's just like her own person for sure. And I laugh because when I look at the family charts also, I'm like, both of my parents have, there's just certain definition and things that make sense. I like don't want to overcomplicate it because I really want anybody listening to be able to just like jump in and hear the tactical, but I completely agree. I wonder, by looking at the charts, I'm like, do we, like, the science of like, are we inheriting certain energy and it's like in our charts, but then also you're looking at the astro and you're like, but how do you freaking time that out? So there's this component here that's like, there is a greater force working, and it all kind of connects it together in this like mind-boggling way that I actually don't know if we're ever fully going to understand in this lifetime.
Or like if we're even meant to, you know? And to your point about just like understanding like, okay, what it means to be like a 4'6" or a 6'2", you know, I feel like what I've read for our specific numbers, it's very accurate. It's very much like kind of rigid systems, like networking, mastering systems, whether it's like astrology or human design or like, you know, subconscious reprogramming. So even just understanding what those mean, and like, it's almost kind of like an audit. It's like, okay, this is the theme that you're looking at. This is what it means to be a 4'6". And then how does this apply to me? And then kind of breaking it down and going into levels. And I think that's really like the essence of human design, because you're going to get a wealth of information just like the deeper and the deeper that you go. And I don't know that it's been explored as much as it could be, to be honest.
And I'm really excited. I see people waking up to it and being introduced to it. And I mean, I'm very much on that wave too, of being like, oh my gosh, I want to bring this as far and wide as possible, because I think that there's just an innate healing that comes with it. It's like I said earlier, it's a permission slip to just fully be yourself. And any questions you have about yourself are kind of there. There's kind of like this guide. So if you feel lost, you can look, and what's weird about it is it just truly resonates. So it's not like somebody telling you something about yourself and you conforming to this idea of what you think it is. It's truly you dropping into like, that feels good. Like, it's in your body. And that's the truth about human design in general. Is human design is an embodiment practice. It's not, you can look at it and intellectualize it and think of it as this cool information, or you can be brave and courageous and decide, and it's not hard. It's not like there's this pressure, but you can decide to join the great experiment of what would it look like if I were to honor my strategy and my authority and make decisions based off of that and see where that leads me. And there's so much magic to it. It's just, I mean, I've seen profound change for myself. So
yeah, it's like authentic living that's quite literally specific to you and tailored to you as a soul in a human body in this lifetime. And there is something, it's actually, speaking of the words, one of the words that you just spoke to that caught my attention was embodiment. And I have what's called or referred to as Nicole has this too, actually. It's called the embodiment gate. I do not remember which one it is off the top of my mind when you go further into the graph. But embodiment, I was like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, how does this show up for me, right? Like, logically thinking about it. And one of our mentors that we both know, Kyla, I work with, I heard something in her, in a video that she just posted, and she's like, embodiment is quite literally living your truth and not giving a fuck really what other people think, because it's you doing you, and you are, by way of doing like you and living out your truth, you're expanding other people, and that changes them because it's almost kind of like, oh, so like, it's almost like the permission slip to be the leader and to like be fucking weird and like be out there as like a psychic or whatever, and like, who gives a fuck? Because it's just, you never know that those people won't give themselves the permission. It's almost like them holding themselves back, from doing that for themselves. But if they're seeing like other people be examples for it, then it's easier for them to be inclined to like live out their authentic truth, which is pretty much human design.
100% agree.
Are you gonna go into the types also?
Yeah.
Or like, so how does it go? So I'm thinking about it because we had Brett on, and we had asked him his human design, and he didn't have the type; he had the numbers. So it kind of got me thinking: did the numbers come first and then the types? Because in my mind, I always kind of do like, oh, I'm a Manny Gen 4/6, but is it really the opposite, where you're a 4/6 Manny Gen, or does it matter?
It doesn't technically matter as long as you know what they mean, but for the sake of just breaking it down and simplifying it and making it understandable, I do think that it's easier to know your type first than the numbers, which are your profile line. Then based off of your type, there's a strategy and authority. So let's go into, there's 5 types. So everybody is either going to be a projector, a manifester, a generator, a manifesting generator, or a reflector. So think about if we were building a city, the manifestors are the people who historically have innate leadership abilities. They are people they were the kings and the queens of the lands back in the day. They are visionaries. So they're the person that would they would have the idea for the city, and they would say, we want to build it like this. Then you have your generators. Generators and manifesting generators, which is a subtype of generator and manifester. It's technically a subtype of generator, but they do have some manifesting qualities, which is why they're called manifesting generators. Generators and manifesting generators are the people who have self-sustained energy. They would be the builders of the city. So the manifestors would come to them and say, I want to build a city. Generators and manifesting generators would be like, okay, we're going to build the city. And they, as long as they're in the roles that are good for them, like they enjoy those roles, they will have so much energy that they will overflow and literally give energy to all the other types. They are the only self-sustaining types. So if you think of it like a battery, they're the only ones that are regenerative. They're like the Teslas or the Energizer Bunny of, the human design. Manifestors don't have the energy. So that's why they bring their vision to these people and they say, hey, let's do this. And they say, okay, let's do this. And generators specifically are people who are honed in on one specific thing. Like they become the experts. They will transcend and be the best at the one thing that they really focus in on. Manifesting generators have multiple things that they're interested in. They have a lot of hobbies, but their essence and their innate ability is being able to bring it together in weird ways that nobody else would like really see if they want to. So they might be interested in pottery and gardening and books, and then they'd create a book based off of how to design your pots for your plants in like just weird things that you're like, okay, I never really saw those, but you did that, and that's amazing. And that's like, so generators are like, hone in on this one thing. Manifesting generators are like, I have a lot of things, and you're allowed to have a lot of things. That's where the magic happens. Projectors are people that are really efficient, but they have, I would say they have a very unique battery, because we are the kind of people who are supposed to work for 3 hours a day and then rest the rest of the time. But in that 3 hours, what we're able to accomplish is basically an 8-hour workday. Like, we're super efficient, we're super focused, and we get a lot done. We're also really, really good at recognizing people's strengths and unique abilities. And so we're the guides, we're the authority, we're the people that if we were building the city would say, you know what, you're really good at this one thing, so you should be doing the painting, or you should be doing the stonework, or you should be doing the flooring, or whatever it may be. And because we can just see people, like we can see into people's souls. And then with reflectors are people who, they're 1% of the population. They're the most rare. They're the most unique. They are people who give feedback. They basically are sampling the entire world, and like all the work that's being done around them, they're sampling and giving the feedback. So they would walk into the city and be like, this is great, but this feels like this, so this needs to change. And it would literally reflect the same feelings that the generators, the manifesting generators, the projectors, and the manifestors had about that, and be like, oh my gosh, you're right, that's how I felt too. Like, what an interesting thing. So reflectors make up 1% of the population. They are really unique in the sense that they are literally reflecting back. So every type also has an aura. I'm going to get to reflectors. Let me come back to reflectors because I want to explain the rest so you can better understand reflectors. So manifestors have a closed and repelling aura. That does not mean that they're assholes. Like, that's not at all. They're honestly just totally fine being on their own, being independent, like working to the beat of their own drum and doing their own thing. And people can have a hard time with that sometimes. So it can come off, it could rub other people's auras and like in a way that is triggering, where we're humans, so we start to create these narratives in our mind. But the beauty of manifestors is once they speak and they inform, which is their strategy, which we'll get to later, it's like they cut through all of it and everyone's like, oh, there's this sense of peace and I feel secure and everything's great. So manifestors are just really independent. They're leaders, they're visionaries, and they have that closed and repelling aura, which again is not a bad thing. It's just that they're truly like, I'm good, like I'm chilling, Generators and manifesting generators have an open and absorbing aura. And that's because they are the ones that have, as long as they're in alignment with what they love to do, they have so much energy to give that they need to give. Like, everyone wants to be in their energy because everyone wants to have a piece of what it means to be able to continue at the cadence and like at the energy and like with the excitement that they do. And then projectors have a open and focused aura. So that's why it's like where they put their focus and where they put their attention that's why they say like they can see into the soul. Because if they're having a conversation with you, like they can cut into like who you are as a person and just kind of see past a lot of bullshit. And then reflectors have an open so they have a sampling aura. So that means that they have all of their energy centers completely open. So they are able to literally almost like step into somebody's energy. They still have a groundedness about themselves. They're still fully who they are individually, independently, uniquely them. But they're meant to be the empaths, and they're meant to be the people that are giving us that refinement of the pieces that we love about ourselves and the pieces that we need to work on in ourselves, because they're literally just giving it right back to us, right? So it's really, really cool to see how they work through the world, because they're able to hold so much capacity and so much empathy for other people, because they have this ability to, it's not a chameleon, but it, in a way, it kind of is. They're very hard to describe because they're just so unique. But when you meet a reflector that's in alignment, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. Like, they truly march to the beat of their own drum, but can really have that connection with you and make you feel really validated and understood. So it's a really beautiful gift. So they're the people that would kind of give the feedback on the city. And every single energy type is so needed. Every single energy type is so unique and so needed. So That's the energy type. Like if you're going to start with anything, just know what your energy type is, because that will play into the rest.
So I love numbers, and I kind of want to share the numbers as far as where they fall. So you mentioned the reflector is about 1% of the population, so super rare. So if you're a reflector, let us know if you're a reflector, because I think we only know one, Gabby, maybe Michelle.
We know, yes, but we know an honorary one. Shout out to our girl Elizabeth. So she's pretty much one, but she's not. But like pretty much, given her chart.
I love that Elizabeth's human design has been like the biggest. Like all of us are.
I know.
I hope we one day get to know what it is. Thing to know. We're like, are you a generator? Are you a projector? Oh, reflector. Okay. Like,
and then,
sorry, finish thought, Nicole. Sorry.
And then a manifestor is 9%. So again, pretty rare. That's going to be the second most rare. The projector says about 20 to 25% of the population. And then manifesting generators and generators, they're tied at about 30 to 35%. So the more common of the different types are going to fall into one of those two.
I was talking to Chikara, and she's like, I'm just like a boring generator. And I'm like, Chikara, like now that I understand human design a little bit better, I'm like, it's actually like badass to have that kind of energy that just fucking resets every day if you're in alignment. Now that I think about that, because I mean, I thought the same. I'm like, damn, like I'm just kind of like one of the more like the numbers that is like, you know, that goes along with the population that's alongside the highest number in the population, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But now that I understand it, I'm just like, oh no, like people can't operate at this level. So like it is a gift to be able to like grind the way that we can.
I think about this all the time because projectors we're not lazy. Like that's the conditioning that society has led us to believe. It's taken a long time to be like, I'm not lazy. Like I get shit done. Like I make it happen, but I just do it differently and I do it at my own cadence. And I have said, I cannot count the amount of times I've said, like, maybe in my next life I'll get to be a generator or manifesting generator, because I just have so much admiration for the way that you guys are able to show up and the output that you are able to have and the stamina that you have. It's just a continuous, I mean, like you said, it's like you reset every day, where that is not how I feel. Like some days I got my rosy colored glasses on, some days I got my blues, and it's just, you know, it just is what it is. And that's just how it's supposed to be, I guess.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I also think that's a little bit of like the Capricorn energy you have going on. And then once you understand like, oh, I'm a projector, I'm a reflector, you're just like, oh, and this is how it shows up in the astrology aspect of it. So it's so crazy once you get to know both charts, just how they have the charts, how they coincide with one another. But you know what I was thinking too? I was thinking about podcast hosts who I know that we listen to, that the differences in the podcast where one's a reflector, the other two, I'm not going to give examples or say the names, but the other two are manifesting generators and generators. And then another one's a projector. I'm like, shit, like the essence of their shows and just how they show up, it's very much aligned with the essence of their, you know, their makeup. So that's also quite fascinating to point out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also like I feel like the reason that there's so many, instead of it looking at it like, oh my God, I'm one of the most like common or basic generator, manifesting generator, I'm like, fuck that, you guys are the most important, because like you like are literally giving energy to everybody else. So that's why there are so many of you, because we need that. Like you guys are carrying us to be able to do it, you know. Not saying like the other ones aren't important. I'm a projector and I'm sitting here saying this, but I'm just saying there's the longevity of how we get things done. It's so necessary to have that much output so that everybody else can have that input to create their output, you know. Okay, so you want to get down to the numbers, right, Nicole? So this is so if we take our type, you are a manifestor, generator, manifesting generator, projector, or reflector. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you're going to look at the two numbers. So I will go, there's 1 through 6. So I'm going to start with 1. 1 is the knowledge seeker. 1 is that person that is going to go down a rabbit hole. They're going to figure out everything that needs to be figured out in order for them to feel really like there's a foundation in making a decision, or feel confident in the way their path forward. So they're the people that like, I just think about like my ex is a 1, and he was so good at like going down a rabbit hole about like technology stuff, which is not my, you know, like how to set up a speaker, like how to set up the sound bar and connect it so that it's like going through the TV and whatever. And he would spend hours and hours and hours getting to the nitty gritty of not only how to do it, but the best type and like with the best brands and the best products. And I mean, looking at all the reviews. So like that is the one. The one is the knowledge seeker. They're going to make sure that they know everything from A to Z very, very thoroughly. The two is the natural. They're the easy genius. They're somebody who, they're an intuitive hermit. They're somebody who I love. We are working with a teacher right now who says, this is her quote, and I got to give her credit for it because I just love it. She's like, if you're a two, having alone time, it's not a privilege, it's a motherfucking rite of passage. Like it's your like innate, like you are meant to have this. Like you need time to, it kind of reminds me of cancers where like you go into your shell, like you just need that time to retreat. And in those times that you are alone is when you're really taking in the world and you're processing and you have that most creative freedom. So twos are people who are naturally intuitive, and because they're intuitive, they're taking on a lot of energy in the world, but they're naturally really good at things too. But the problem, the shadow of the two, is they don't know what they're good at because they're good at it. So it just comes so naturally that it's kind of a blind spot for them. But they have this kind of like dancer, free flowing energy, and they need that time to retreat. So that's a two. A three is the great experimenter. I have so much appreciation for threes because in my opinion, threes are people who have a really good relationship with failure. They do not see it as failure. They're like, I'm just going to pivot. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep experimenting. I'm going to just keep going until I get a result. And at the end of this result that I've been looking for, I'm going to take all this knowledge and I'm going to share it with other people so that they don't have to go through that same process of trial and error that I did. So they just get to, they're the great experimentalists, and they have no problem knowing that it's not going to be the right way of, the correct quote unquote right way of doing something, but they're just going to try it anyway. Like, and I think that that's so refreshing that we have threes in this world. And then fours, like we were speaking earlier, fours are the people. They're the people. Like they are good at understanding people. They have an innate sense of who would work well together, who would be in a good position for something, how to network, how to collaborate, how to keep those relationships going, like how to foster, facilitate, and nurture those relationships, and just truly like an essence of individuals and people at large, and like who, like the human experience overall, I would say. And then fives are they're martyrs, they're the heroic, they're kind of like the heroes, the unsung heroes, and they're kind of spicy. Like a really attractive five is somebody who has no problem saying what they believe to be right. And what is right is so subjective, but like they are truly here to like represent the people. Like they want to come in, they want to make sure everyone's good. So they're never doing it in a way that is volatile for the sake of being volatile. Like they're here to truly speak to like, why the fuck are we tying our shoes this way for so long, or like why a water bottle's been built this way for so long. Like it could be something small, it can be all the way up into being a great leader and leading the people. So like fives also have this capacity of just getting shit done. Like if you want something done, like call a five, they will figure a way out of doing it. And I don't know what it is about them, but they're just really good at that. And then sixes are the sage. They are like they're the wise sage. They're the guide. Six are the only profile line that have 3 distinct stages in their lifetime. So before, which is so funny because this, Gabby, like bringing the astro with human design, isn't it so mind blowing?
It's mind fuck. Totally.
Like, because I just think like the first stage of a 6 is between 1 to about 2730, and I'm like, that's interesting because that's when you go into your Saturn return, and that shit turns everything on its head, and that changes everything in your life, right? So in that first 30 years or so, roughly 30 years for a line 6, they are really living kind of as a 3. They're experimenting a lot. They're out in the world. So the metaphor that they use is thinking about being at a party. For the first 30 years, a line 6 is somebody who is probably doing a keg stand. They're meeting everybody at the party. They are, playing all the games. They're literally just doing like everything and anything. And it's like such an external way of experiencing the world. And then they go through a transition after the Saturn return that they are quote unquote on the roof. So the term for 6 is the first 30 years, you're kind of living as a 3, you're experimenting, you're trying new things. then the second half, which is between about 30 to 50, which is it Chiron return, or what is the return that you go through about that time?
They're 30 to 50. Well, the Uranus opposition happens around like 40 to 45, depending on what
Yeah.
Uranus is doing in the sky. But then there's always going to be like optimal times in which Saturn's transiting. So it's typically Saturn that's like the planet you want to look to, because he hits every 7 years. He hits in a 7-year cycle. So that would be like what, 40, 49? So yeah, it would be a Saturn cycle. Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I was looking at my Saturn return calculator, there was like, I was like, it happens twice. Like I was pissed because this shit was not fun the first time.
No.
So I was like, okay, I have something to look forward to. And I'm, but about 50 years old, it's like another shift that happens.
Yeah, and then this like the Saturn return, like the second 30-year cycle happens like 57 to 60, and you see people, like go through it. Oh, at the end of the 40s, so the 40s to the 50 is the Chiron return. So yeah, but there's also like the Saturn, one of the Saturn cycles, the synodic cycles is what it's called, that happens around that time too. So it's usually like Saturn, like you can look to Saturn, but also to your point about like the distinctions in the three different periods of time for the sixes, I think about it and I'm just like, gosh, that's so true, because, and it's actually kind of aggravating because you have a whole like period, it's almost like 30 years where you're kind of just like asleep. Like you're like, oh, then all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, well, shit, like it's a quarter of my life that's already passed and I had no idea. But I mean, I think the next generation is going to be a little bit different because they'll have these tools readily available to them. Whereas like for us, I think it kind of maybe came online a little bit later in our 20s if you weren't raised with it.
Yeah, I think back, I was on the brink of turning 30. I was 29 when human design really like landed in my orbit. Like I was saying earlier, it came down, and I just laugh at how that happens because I went into my Saturn return a month after kind of discovering, like really discovering and practicing human design, or really getting into the nitty-gritty of studying it. And it's just such a interesting experience because I'm a 6, right? So I'm in the second phase now, which if we're looking at the metaphor of the party, it's I'm on the roof. So being a 6 in your second phase, it's like instead of being in the party, in the house, experimenting hands-on and having that external experience, you're on the roof now. And the whole concept of that is you're looking at everyone below and you're taking in the party. You're still experiencing the party, but it's more of like internal perspective of witnessing versus actually being in it and experiencing it hands-on. So that's the second part. And then the third part is when you reintegrate back into society. And that doesn't mean like we're not going out, we're not doing things, but it's just so much more of a solemn time. Like there's solitude in the second phase of a 6, of being inward, reflecting, getting that inner wisdom. And then the last half, the third half, is about the age of 50 when you transition, and that's integrating back into society with the wisdom that you've experienced from the external and the internal world. So it's taking that wisdom, and then that's when you like step into like really becoming the guide and the leader and like truly like the sage that is of the line 6. So I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just wanted to add to the point about the 6s. I've also heard 6s are old souls, even though they go through those distinct phases in this lifetime, but they tend to be like souls that have had many, many incarnations.
That's what I've heard too. And I mean, I feel that about my story. I've shared with you guys. Like I came in, I felt like the veil was pretty thin from the get-go. And I remember choosing my family to have other 6-2 sisters. Like it's just an interesting concept, right? Like even with an age gap of 5 to 6 years, to still be like, I am my own person, I've had my own understanding, and then to have like actual guides in my life that are my older sisters, which is like, you guys understand because there's the 10-year gap, and it's really fun and exciting to be able to peek into what is the next decade potentially going to look like for you, you know? Like it's just, but it's built into your design, like it's there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Shout out, Nicole. Thanks for being the guide. Literally 10 years, pretty much. So yeah, I love. Thanks for that example, Chelsea. That was I never thought of it that way, but that's so well said.
Yeah, and then the two are combined, right? So we have those what your profile lines are, and I'm not going to get into the combinations just because that's. I really think that if you explore the individual lines and you recognize again what is your first line, which is your conscious personality. Again, for me, it's a 6, so I'm consciously aware that I have those qualities of the 6th line. And then the second line is the unconscious, which is the 2. That's, again, a really fun place to explore of what I just explained, and you can go deeper into that because the combinations do create their own kind of character for sure, but individually you get to really work with those too. And I think that like innately you know better than kind of what the combinations can say. And I will say some of them are a little bit of a juxtaposition for sure. So like a 2-5, for instance. Oh, and I really quickly, I want to say, because I was talking about auras earlier, 2s and 5s are the only profile line that have a projection aura. So I was talking about auras. They have a projection aura, which means that they can be either really triggering or really expanding for people. So if you have a 2 and a 5 and you feel like there's been some of that pushback on either who you are or like just by being you kind of trigger something in somebody else, good or bad, that comes from the projection field that you have with that profile line. And it's only the 2s and the 5s. And which is so funny because a 2 and a 5, from based on my description, if you're a 2-5 or a 5-2, you have 2 projection like fields, right, in your profile lines. But beyond that, it's just funny because a 2 is the innate, like they're a hermit. They're more like the intuitive hermit. And a 5 is that like feisty, like hero. So you're like, how do these 2 fit? And there's a beautiful, like that is a combination that I would say go deeper, discover more about it. There is a way of you finding that balance for yourself that is very, very unique.
I was going to say, Nicole, did you have a question?
Quick, so what are the ones that are like, oh my gosh, cognition? Because cognition's not in this book.
Yeah. Cognition, I think, you know what, don't quote me on this, that's something different, but I do think that it's not your environment. It's like I'm outer cognition, there's inner cognition, there's like taste.
There's like smell, taste, feel, something else. There's a few of them, but what is...
Yeah, they basically deal with the senses, and they're kind of the way of which you are taking in information from the world. So there's taste, smell, outer vision, inner vision. There's a couple more. I
have it. So yeah, there's smell, inner vision, touch, taste, outer vision, and feeling.
Oh,
but I don't know a lot about cognition other than just that those are there.
So they're just the way that you digest. So the different cognition styles are the ways that you digest information in the world. So for me, I'm an outer vision person. Like aesthetics are really important to me. There's something that cannot fall by the wayside. I need to live in a pretty environment. I need to work in a pretty environment. The attention to detail is really, really important. Inner vision is somebody who has their imagination is how they take in a lot of information, and it's like their understanding of the world comes through a lot of inner visuals, and they need to be able to explore that imagination and that like daydream essentially in order to be able to process what's happening. And then taste is people who have really good taste. They have really good taste in things, and they actually have physical good taste in food. So taste is like one of their biggest sensory. All of these come down to like, what's your biggest sensory processing, modality? And so taste people might be really good at literally wine tasting or tasting cheeses or curating like a good meal for people. And then we've got feeling, which is truly not only like how you actually physically take in and process your feelings, but it's also like how you transfer. Like I feel like feelings people are very good at Reiki. They have like an innate ability of being able to like transmute and move energy because it's like a feeling and they're processing. And then same with touch. Touch is like actually you're touching a person or you touch things and get a sensory overload. Like my sister, when she was younger, she used to just like go like this to fabrics. Like she would rub on fabrics, and she's a touch person, and she's also become a physical therapist that like heals through touch. So it's just how these things transcend and work. They can give you also clues into really into some actual careers that would be like fitting for you as well, like chef, physical therapist, massage therapist, interior designer. I don't know about nose. I mean, smelling. Ashley, my oldest sister, we laugh, we crack up every time because I also call them like your superpower, like they're your spidey sense. They're like your sixth sense, right? And Ashley is somebody who can call out bullshit, but she's also the first person to walk into the room and be like, what's that smell? And she can identify, like, that's, yeah, it's so funny. And I'm like, this is
I
somebody who
have the
can
nose
walk
of
in
a
and be like,
bloodhound.
yeah, exactly. And you also are somebody who can call it bullshit. So it's funny
Yeah,
because
and
it's
that's
like
not my
these,
strongest sense. My strongest sense is feeling, but I would say
oh,
my next strongest probably has to be smell. Yeah.
yeah. It's just funny how all of it works. But okay, I'm going to quickly go through strategy, because strategy and authority are the two things that, again, are going to be your biggest takeaways. They are your North Star. They're how you navigate. Your strategy is essentially how you navigate the world. So for manifestors, it's you're waiting. Sorry, you're not waiting. Manifestors, give me a second. I need to collect myself. What is manifestors? To inform and so manifestors, your approach to life is to inform. Like I was saying earlier, because you're very independent, because you're an innate leader, people can sometimes feel a little threatened by you because like you're a freaking trailblazer. You're a visionary. You're somebody that's like on the front end of making change, and you're a change maker. And people can feel a little intimidated, overwhelmed by that because your aura is that way. So your strategy is to inform, which is kind of like literally taking a butter knife and cutting through that tension and informing on what your decisions are. That does not come naturally to you. A lot of times manifestors are scared to share what's on their mind because there's a lot of pushback. But when you inform, it's a great way to actually get people on board with you instead of staying in the narrative of nobody's gonna understand, nobody's gonna believe this. And even if they don't, you're a manifestor, so you're gonna be fine. You're gonna just like keep walking your path and trailblazing. You're also, when you are in alignment, you are finding peace. There is a peace. There is a sense of peace inside of you and amongst everybody that you're around and working with. For a generator, your strategy is to respond. So it's very important to know that like it's not a waiting game. There's an activation in your energy that's happening, but you're going to wait for opportunities or decisions to be presented to you, and then you make that decision. You respond based off of what is a yes or a no for you and what feels good for you. And then when you're out of alignment, you're going to feel frustration. So Jason is a generator, and trust me when I say I stopped asking him to do things that he doesn't want to do because it's not fun. They always say that a generator that says yes to something they don't want to do is like asking somebody to help you move, and they are like, sure, I'll do it. And you're like, I'm asking you to move because like this is the kind of person that's like always so fun to be around. Like they're going to take this thing that's awful and make it fun. And then the generator who doesn't want to move gets there and makes it even worse and is like complaining the entire time and is like, in total frustration mode. And then everyone's like, nobody won. That was not fun at all. Projectors, your strategy is to wait for the invitation. Again, similar to generators, it's active waiting. You're not just sitting around in bed waiting for something. You are still going about your life and putting your energy out there and making yourself known and waiting until it's time for you to be able to either have that conversation that's needed to be had because you have a lot of insight to share, or to take the opportunity that you've really been wanting to take. And when you're out of alignment, you're feeling bitterness. And that is because when you're in alignment, you're feeling success. So that's a strategy for that. And then, all right, let's go into, we're going to do your not self theme, your signature theme, and your strategy, because those are kind of all combined together. So for a manifestor, your strategy is to inform. And that's because you have that repelling. You're the visionary, you're the trailblazer, you're the person that's on the forefront of making things happen, you're the change maker. So because of your aura being so good with being independent, people need to know what you're doing, and you need to be able to, so your strategy is to inform. And when you do that, it's like taking a knife and cutting through the tension, and then you can find peace. So peace is when you are in your signature theme, and peace is how you know that you are on track and in alignment. How you know you're not on track and in alignment is that you will feel anger. So anger is kind of like the shadow of that. And then when we get into generator, your strategy is to respond. And that means it's an active way of being. So you're not just waiting around, but you are actively waiting to respond to opportunities and to decisions. And you want to make sure that you're in a place that it feels good for you to say yes. Because if you're saying yes, then you're going to find satiation. And that's how you know that you're in your signature theme, which is in your highest alignment. And if you're feeling satiated in something, it's like, this is a really satisfying process. This is a really satisfying experience. That is when you are in your highest vibration. And if you are out of that and you're in the shadow of that, you're going to feel frustration. So never ask a generator to do something that they truly don't want to do, because they will make the experience kind of miserable, if I'm going to be honest. And I'm saying that from somebody who is engaged to a generator. And manifesting generators, you're not far off from that. So you also are in a place where but manifesting generators are combinations. So you want to inform first, you want to wait for the invitation for something, make that decision based on your authority, which we'll get to next, which is your decision-making process. And then based off the decision you make, then you inform. So it's a combination where you're making that decision based on what feels good to you, and then you inform. And when you're in your highest vibration of yourself, when you're in alignment, that is when you are feeling satiated, just like generators. You're feeling that satisfaction from the process that you're going through, from the decisions that you're making. And if you're out of alignment and you're in your not self theme, that is when you're feeling frustration as well. Projectors, your strategy is to wait for the invitation. That is an active waiting. It doesn't mean you're laying in bed. It doesn't mean you're like not doing anything and putting yourself out there. You are still very much showing up in the world and sharing your energy, and you're taking in this information. Projectors, when you feel out of alignment, you feel bitterness. And a lot of times it's because you have something to say. You feel silence. You feel like nobody's listening. But projectors, I can speak like one-on-one to you. It's because you have to wait for that invitation to speak what's on your mind, or to take that opportunity that's presented to you. If you try to rush the timing, you're going to find yourself in your not self theme, which is bitterness. And it's a really ugly place to be, because it's just, it's not a good place to be. Because it lasts longer than like frustration or anger. Bitterness kind of lingers. So you want to like really just trust that timing is on your side for that. And then reflectors, your strategy is excitement. So when you feel excited about something, or excitement and surprise. So when something surprises you and it comes, and that's a process for you that truly is different than the other types, because surprise doesn't come naturally to you, since you are somebody that's sampling auras all the time and kind of taking in so many other people's experiences. So when something comes out of nowhere and excites you, like that is, and surprises you, that is your strategy. That means you lean into that opportunity or that conversation or whatever that situation that's being presented, because that is when you're in alignment, and you will feel so actually, reflectors, the strategy is the lunar cycle. These are people who need 28 days. They are completely attached to the moon and the lunar cycle. They are sampling auras all the time. They're taking on so much information from other people. They need the time to really sit with their own energy and be with the moon and be with the cycle of the moon to make an informed decision that is right for them. And their signature, so how they know that they're in their highest vibration, is when they're finding that surprise. It's when they're excited about something that is coming out of nowhere. Again, because they are constantly sampling so many people's auras, it's rare for them to be surprised. So when they have that level of surprise in their life, it's leaning into that and knowing that they're in alignment, because it's so rare. When they're in not self, it's disappointment. And let me tell you, like, meeting a reflector that's disappointed because they reflect back your energy is really sad. Like, it's like really hard to be around, because it's like it's like a parent being like, I'm disappointed in you. Reflectors are truly like here to help serve the collective on such a high vibration and fine tune all of our auras and all of our energies. And so when they're disappointed in something, whether it's a person, a situation, or an outcome, you can really feel that. And that's their shadow of it. So that is the strategy, the not self and the self for all people.
So there's so much there, and thank you for that. I think there's so much for everyone to sit with. Where can people find their body graph so they can look this up in their information? And then also, let's start with that.
Yeah. So mybodygraph.com is a great resource, and I would suggest that. That's where I go and I look up all the body graphs for my clients and from where I've done most of the research for myself. But I will say that Jenna Zoe, we're still out on that one on how to pronounce it. myhumandesign.com, one benefit of that is that she does add in what your ideal environment is, and your ideal environment is really special because it's a place that I would say is kind of like your sacred portal to connecting to yourself and the divine a little bit more accessibly. So I would say look at my body graph. It gives you a great breakdown. But if you want to look up where your ideal environment is, go to myhumandesign.com and you can look up where that is, and it's all free for you to look all that up.
And I just, even like the times that you've looked at my graph and just like the way that you can digest it and like make it make sense for me on a level that like I can, understand it, because it is so complex and it doesn't have to be, like you said at the beginning of this recording. I really appreciate that. So I'm so grateful that you're a friend. So where can people find you and all the things? And people go book with Chelsea before we, do our card pull, and then we set a manifestation for what we're calling in the next time we chat.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did we
first
talk
of all,
about
I feel
authority?
the same way with you with Astro, so thank you so much for always being a resource for that.
Yeah.
And you guys can find me on my Instagram at chelseajenkins.love, and I will have a Calendly link. I am now taking human design reading bookings, so I would be happy to look into your chart further. And my little, I guess, special flair is that I do bring in my intuitive gifts and my psychicism. So I think it's really fun to bring in that element to the chart, because we can go a lot deeper on the questions that you have and see kind of what your body graph is telling us in combination with what your guides and the divine spirit is saying. So yeah. Okay. So, and then the last thing, the decision-making process is called your authority. So it's how you are meant to make decisions in life. And that is such a blessing that is in our design, because it's literally our guiding post. So there are a few different types of authorities. We have the solar plexus authority, often referred to as emotional authority. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of, there's 3 different types. There's collective, there's tribal, and there's one other one I literally can't think of right now. There's 3 different types of emotional authority, and I won't get into them right now, but what you need to know about emotional authority, and I can speak to this because I am emotional authority, is you have a wave. So something that's really helpful is tracking how you're feeling throughout the month, because just like a wave that goes up and down, so are your emotions. And you never want to make a decision when you are in the high of your emotional authority wave or when you are in the low. I'm such a sucker for saying yes to things when I'm in the high, because I'm feeling so good and I'm like, I've got all the energy, I can do everything. And then when I'm at the low, I'm just like, I made a mistake, I want to crawl into bed, I don't want to talk to anybody, and this was such a bad idea that I said yes to this. So you never want to make say yes from a high, or make any decision from a high or a low. And this can seem really annoying, but something that is really magnetizing is somebody that is able to respect and live by their emotional authority wave, because when you're in it, it feels like other people don't have patience for you, but really you just don't have patience for yourself. So when you find that patience to be able to make the decision for yourself, to give yourself the grace to wait until you're in a neutral state to make a decision, people recognize that, they respect that, and that's also just like, because it's a self-love and a self-respect for you. So emotional waves are really hard. The reason I'm taking more time with this one is just because they are very volatile. I get it completely. I'm there with you. But honestly, the moment that you just carve out that space for you to make the decision, it is so well reciprocated. And I just want to send love to everybody, because I was saying earlier, sometimes it feels like you're wearing your rosy colored glasses or you're in the blues, and it's hard to find the in between. But once you respect that, go all in on the decision making and the in between, and everything else falls into place. Then we have our sacral authority. And sacral authority is like a body authority. It's actually like you can feel it. And Gabby, you've spoken to this so many times. You're like, I feel like my sacral, like it lights up. It's like a clear yes or no. Your body will have like a visceral response to being like yes or no. And it's pretty much as simple as that, honestly, which is such a beautiful thing. And I am jealous for sure. And then we have splenic authority. Splenic is it's an intuition. So the spleen on the body graph represents intuition, and splenic is you have this voice. If you have splenic, you need to listen. The voice is a soft voice. It only speaks once, and it's not going to give you time to make a decision. You don't get 10 minutes. You don't get an hour. You don't get a month. You don't get a year. You don't get whatever. You, in that moment, have to know to honor that. And that could take some time, but you can't question it. It's one of those things. It's literally your intuition that says a yes or no, and it gives you that download, and you go with that. You not think twice. The moment that you let your mind get in is when things are out of alignment for you. So you have to just honor the fact that you don't need to know why you know, but you know, and that's how you make your decision. Your heart center, if you're an ego authority, an ego manifested authority, well, there's two. Let me get back to those ones. We've got self-projected authority. Self-projected authority are people who need to speak things out loud. They need a sounding board. They're literally they're projecting their self out into the world through their throat chakra, and they need to hear how it sounds and how it resonates from their own voice. Self-projected people need to not think about what they're going to say. They just need to say it. And when they say it, it's almost like you're getting a divine, like a connection from the divine straight through your crown, down through your ajna, out through your throat, into the world. And then it resonates into your human experience. So self-projected people, something that can be really helpful is if you don't have somebody to talk it out with, just have a friend to vent to and literally know that they don't need to actually say anything. It's so funny. One of my best friends is this way. He'll call me and I'm like, I don't need to say anything. You just need to hear yourself talk right now. Like that's how it works. Let them either on the receiving end, let them talk, or for yourself, if you were this, just talk. You can even send yourself a voice note and listen to it back because it can be really helpful, again, just to hear the tonality and what resonates with you, and it'll drop in and you'll just know from hearing your own voice. And you're meant to speak it out. You're meant to speak your truth, and you're not meant to let your mind get in the way of it. So just speak and see what happens. And it's the only time in life I would say you would give somebody permission to speak without thinking. Right? Like if you are a self-projected person, speak without thinking and just see what happens from there. That's how you make your decisions. And then we have environment, which are mental projectors. Environment people it's what it sounds like. You're making your decision based off how you feel in an environment. How is the environment affecting you? How is it affecting your aura? How is it affecting your energy? How is it making you feel? And being in that environment. And sometimes you need to get yourself into the environment in order to make the decision. If you're going to buy the house, if you're going to make the move, if you're going to work at a place, if whatever it is, get yourself there so you can see how it resonates and feels in your body so you can make the decision based off of how that environment is speaking and the external world is resonating with you. And then we have lunar authority. Lunar authority is specific to reflectors only. That's what I was speaking to earlier, which is you have 28 days to make a decision and give yourself time. The more that you give yourself time and trust the process of being patient, the better your decision making is going to be because you're sloughing off so much of the energy that you're absorbing from other people all the time. So you were working with the moon, you were a lunar being. And it's just really important to not be hard on yourself because the world has conditioned us to believe that we need to make a decision in an instant. And unless you're splenic authority, that's not going to work. Or sacral, that could come just as easy for sacral. But lunar authority, you got to give yourself the time. And that's going to be beautiful because when you do that, nothing is going to be able to change your mind. Like it's an unwavering decision and it feels so authentically aligned and that resonates. And so for reflectors especially, it's like, that's where you get that level of surprise. Something will drop in and it's just going to take time for you. I know that can be really frustrating. I know a couple reflectors that get really frustrated by that, but honestly, it's part of your design and it's just such a beautiful thing to be so connected to nature in that way. So just lean into and soften into like what a beautiful gift that is. Heart center, ego authority, manifested authority. And that is somebody who also has, who needs a sounding board. They're also somebody that needs to speak it out. But the difference is that there are people who they can't explain for any ego authority, whether you're manifested or projected, you cannot explain why something, you have this like strong will and this strong desire and this strong want towards something, but you're not supposed to question it. And with an ego manifested authority, you speak it out loud. You say what your desire, what you want, what is on your heart is. And there is a level of hearing yourself speak it that will help you make that decision of if it's right or wrong for you. It's a little bit different than it is different. It's a way of you not it's a way of you bypassing the mind to have the control. But if you have ego authority in general, you're somebody who has this strong desire, this strong want, this strong will. You don't know why you want what you want, but it's placed on your heart for a reason. This desire is there for a reason. And it's not narcissistic. It's not self-indulgent. It's not anything negative to go for it. It's truly the way that you are. It's because something in you is so lit up that there's no room for anything else. So it's placed on your heart for a reason, and it's for you to trust to go into that. So when you have ego projected authority, you are, it's that same idea of like, it's placed on your heart for a reason, and you have to ask yourself, like, what do I want? What's in it for me? And it's because the heart center is the motor here. And that can feel very weighing, that can be very conflicting, again, because society has made us feel bad about our wants and our needs. But if it's placed on your heart, it's there for a reason. And what's really important with the ego projected authority is that you really honor that, and you honor what's on your heart, and you allow yourself, like, be gentle with yourself. Do not judge yourself for what comes up. I would say it's a litlittle bit more of an embodiment. It's a little bit more of what you can feel. But, and like placing my hand on my heart right now, because I'm like empathizing with this. There's a shadow to the projected, it's not a shadow. It's just that if you are an ego projected authority, it's really, really, really important for you to honor what is on your heart and your desires, because if you let society come in, and if you let society tell you that those things are wrong or bad, or you're being selfish or greedy or anything like that, it can actually have you can have a physical ailment. Like, you can have a physical repercussion on your heart. This is one that's so connected into your body. So it's just really important for you to not judge yourself and give yourself the grace that these are things that are divinely guiding you, versus, looking at the material and thinking that you're leaning into the shadow of our world, which is this, consumerism, capitalism. We want all these things. We want all these things. No, it's on your heart for a reason, and it's okay. And lean into that, because otherwise your body is going to take the physical toll. It's statistically out there, unfortunately, to see that there are heart conditions that come up with that. So I just want to send a lot of love in that message right there, because I don't want to scare anybody. I really want to give you the permission to be like, actually, it's fine, and it's good for my health, and it's good for the collective overall for me to honor that.
So there was so much there. Where can one find their body graph?
MyBodygraph.com is a great resource for a free body graph. And then also you can look at myhumandesign.com. I personally use mybodygraph.com. I think that there's a little bit more information there, but My Human Design is great because it also tells you what your ideal environment is, and your ideal environment is the physical spaces in which you can put yourself that acts as a portal for you to really get the downloads and feel most in alignment for whatever is going to be successful for you. So if you're feeling stuck, get yourself in your ideal environment. You can go on My Human Design and do a little bit of research to see what those are, because we went over a lot today already. But it's just a really, really valuable resource to have.
Yeah, there was so much there. And come back and listen to this episode again, guys, because I can guarantee that you're going to get some downloads and things will make sense in the future that maybe didn't hit right away once you get to understand your chart a little bit more. And book with Chelsea, because not only does she have a gift in explaining things in a digestible way, she's also highly psychic. And Chelsea, where can everyone find you?
Yes, come reach out. I'm on Instagram at chelseajenkins.love.
I love that. I love the .love, because that's just, it really fits once you get to know you and all the things. And would you be so kind as to do a card pull for us, and then maybe we can, call in some manifestations for the next time that we chat, guys, since we did that in the last episode.
I was thinking we should have suggested people have their body graph ready to go before the episode, so that way they knew the information ahead of time and they could really listen and piece together while they're doing it. But anyways, if you do re-listen and come back with your body graph, that way you can really put the pieces together of what your human design profile is.
Definitely listen again, guys, because we need the downloads. So it's great. It's a win-win either way. And leave us a review on Apple Podcast, please. 5-star. We appreciate them. We read every single one, and we're super grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was a very dense episode, but I promise if you book with me, I'll I'll send you also like a little guide so you have all this to reflect back on down the road, because it is a lot to process, but it doesn't have to be too complicated. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and pull this card for us, and the card that I am pulling is Star Family. You're a part
Oh.
you're part of a team of souls. Call in support. I think that's very appropriate.
Which deck is that? Is that
It's the Rebecca
Campbell?
Campbell, yeah, Starseed Oracle. I don't
Okay.
really use cards anymore, so this was like a fun opportunity to bring them out. Every once in a while, I get the call to pull something, and I guess today is one of those days. So this makes sense to me.
What are you picking up on it, like, intuitively?
Intuitively, I feel like this conversation that we had, I know that it was very informative, but it's that if we are, like, my whole belief system is, if we are to be able to stand in our own unique authenticity, in our own aura, in our own energy, and embody that, we are really giving space to being able to celebrate each other's differences and recognize the differences in each other. And instead of judging or, making others feel bad and putting them down, it's an opportunity to celebrate and recognize how, as a collective, somebody's strengths might be our weaknesses, and that's exactly why we're all meant to be here together, is because we're working as a collective unit. So in what we just discussed, in all these unique variables, putting them together for yourself, walking in that embodiment, really honoring what's yours, you get to celebrate that, and then look at somebody else's and celebrate theirs, and together that just really raises a vibration overall and lets us work more efficiently together as well, because we're not trying to fit ourselves into positions or places or situations or jobs that aren't in alignment with what our natural gifts are. And we get to honor those natural gifts and let them shine and get the recognition that we all deserve for just being uniquely ourselves. So that's my take on it, is we're all just big star family, and that these modalities are put in place so that we can get closer to what that authentic core is and work together.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love you guys.
We love you. So, manifestation ladies, are we setting it for June, July,
Oh,
2025?
okay, for the next year. Because
is it the next year? Okay, a year from now.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think we recorded almost a year ago with Chelsea, so I'm going to say another year. Okay. My manifestation is that I'm going to call in Manifestation Babe.
Ooh, okay.
And that's it. She's my big one.
Okay.
Perfect.
Chelsea, what about you?
Oof, I think I need you to go first. I'm nervous right now. You guys are nervous.
Okay. Well, all right. We seem to be good at manifesting around here because we got them both this last time. So I think for me, I would like to be on a maybe top. Yeah, I want to be on a top 50 podcast a year from now. But also, I would really like to have a clear game plan / date in which I am in my business full time.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And also that we're going to get you to move to San Diego and meet your person. Bye. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
This is so lame. I don't have the specifics, but I know that there's a collaboration. It's still waiting to drop into my field of, like, the clear vision. There's a collaboration that I know is on the horizon for me. And I do think it's with breathwork. So I don't think in the next year it's going to happen. I think it's a little bit further out, but I'm just going to plant the seed now so that we can say, there's a breathwork collaboration I want to do that combines human design. And hopefully in a year from now, I at least have some clear path, I guess, to get there, and some solid steps in that direction, for an in-person event that I'll be able to travel with and do on a larger scale. That's a big one.
That.
And I was so scared to say that. Terrified to, like,
so
would
that fall under business? Would it fall under personal? Because I feel like Gabby kind of did a personal and a business.
I think for me it's both.
I think I need to add a personal too.
Yeah, I think you should do both, guys. Do both.
Yeah.
Okay, personally, I'm going to call in a baby. Duh.
A girl. I see a girl. Hey, we'll just take a baby, but I
think I see another boy for her. So, like, this will be fun.
She knows. She's just gatekeeping, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
my mouth right now. So, I'm so excited. Okay.
So
I
yeah,
guess
would the breath
personally,
work be personal, or that would be business, right?
honestly, I feel like it's both because through breathwork and human design, I have found myself more centered and aligned than I ever have. And so I just feel like if I'm in that path of being in my energy, like just, I don't know, there's just like so much abundance on the other side of that. And it's almost like I don't need to even give, I don't even need to give like a title for it. I don't know. I feel like I feel really blessed right now. So it's hard to think about like what else do I want to call in when I'm like, I'm engaged to the love of my life. I'm holding on. I'm telling my spirit babies they need to chill out because I want to, we have this wedding coming up and that's a little terrifying. I feel really aligned with my energy and excited to serve my clients and take this as far and wide as possible. And so what else am I calling in? Yeah, just continued stamina for my little projector self, my little emotional projector self.
We love it. Chelsea, we love you. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on.
for
You're
all of
always
that.
welcome.
That was so good. It was a good, I think,
Yeah.
follow up to the episode we had with Jazz. So I hope people are able to get a lot from listening to both, and maybe even listen to both back to back. I think would be helpful.
And have your
And then-
chart ready.
Yes.
And guess what, guys? We could go even deeper when it comes to human design because that's how dense the system is. Believe
For
it or
another
not.
Really?
episode.
For another episode, yeah. Until then.
All right.
Yeah. Give us feedback. Let us know what you want to hear, and we'll go further.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I gotta go. It's late. I gotta get my kid to bed. He's up past his bedtime.
Thanks, you guys.
All
I
right.
had so much
See you
fun.
next time.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye.